So I was fascinated by you, mainly from the briefing notes I got given earlier today. You dropped out of school at 15. You lived in a converted ambulance. You were too poor to afford shoes. You had to eat out of bins. You haven't eaten meat for 40 years. You admitted you'd rather die than eat meat. You launched your first wind turbine off your roof in 1996. You set up a company, Ecotricity. You now have 200,000 customers in the UK, and you're reputed to be worth over £100 million. That's a hell of a story.
Yeah, and that's only some of it. And it's not completely accurate, but, you know, there's a lot of truth in there. How long you got?
Well, not that long. We could probably do a longer one another time. You've hit the headlines recently because of your support for Just Stop Oil, and in particular, your financial support. It began with a £10,000 donation. A week ago, you said you would match any other donations in a 48-hour period. The amount raised was £170,000, which you doubled to £340,000. That's a significant chunk of change, even for a man of your wealth. Why are you so committed to supporting Just Stop Oil?
Well, the cause itself, I mean, it's a single-purpose campaign to prevent further drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea. We know that it doesn't make sense. The international scientific consensus is clear. We can't keep finding new forms of fossil fuels because we can't afford to burn them if we're going to stay within the Paris 1.5 degree Accord, which we signed up to along with the rest of the world in 2015. You know, the science is really clear from the UN, from the IPCC. We're in danger of reaching 3 degrees. We have to transition from fossil fuels rapidly, and therefore drilling for more, and they'll take years to come into fruition, just makes no sense, Piers. And so I believe that very strongly. I think the guys are doing a great job, and I'm giving them all the support that I can.
So, look, broadly, I agree with what you've just said. All right, so let's put that on the table. You know, when I hear the Just Stop Oil protesters, when they outline their mission statement, I find myself nodding along. My problem is with their methodology. And I want to play a clip. This is a cyclist in North London who identified himself as a Liberal and said this to some of the protesters.
Because everyone hates you. I'm a Liberal. I've always voted Liberal. And you all feel better about yourself, but you're hurting the cause. You feel better, but you're hurting the cause. You're hurting the green cause. So you feel good about yourself, but you're not helping.
I thought it was really interesting because he basically supported them but doesn't support the methods they're using. And I don't. And a lot of people don't. Your friend Sir Keir Starmer, you've been a big donor to the Labour Party and you support him and want him to be Prime Minister. He doesn't support the methodology either. Why are you so happy to put hundreds of thousands of pounds to a group who are causing a lot of aggravation to people and don't appear to be turning any minds?
Well, I think, you know, a recording of one cyclist is an anecdote, and a few other people's opinions, they're also anecdotes. None of that is data. If you look behind the scenes, Just Stop Oil have a lot of support.
I agree with your cause, but I agree with what he said. So I don't think he's just that guy. Yeah. A lot of people I talk to have a fundamental, basic, supportive view about the cause and think we should be doing this, but they just hate what's going on now with these protesters. And when I've had a few of them in here, I've got to say, some of them have behaved like complete morons, which, again, doesn't help the cause. You're not a moron. You're a very, very bright guy. And I think you've really, you know, you've laid your own cards on the table very firmly and dedicated yourself to this cause. Do you not think that some of this methodology is just having the opposite effect?
Well, look, it's definitely upsetting some people. That's what I was trying to say. But behind that, there's a lot of people that support what Just Stop Oil are doing, because a lot of people feel completely frustrated. Our governments say the right things on the climate, then they do all the wrong things, opening a coal mine, drilling in the North Sea, all kinds of stuff, maintaining the ban on onshore wind, you know, our fastest, cheapest, cleanest form of energy. It needs no public money at all. We can get to 100% green electricity in 10 years with no public money if the government just enabled that. But instead, we have a government pursuing old-fashioned policies, claiming that if we drill in the North Sea, we can help bring energy bills down, when that's completely counterfactual. We saw that from the energy crisis last winter. And of course, it flies in the teeth of the climate crisis. Millions of people are frustrated by this, Piers, and I do understand and I do accept that it also upsets people as well.
But watching these guys jumping on snooker tables, wrecking everyone's fun at the World Championships and spraying their paint around, watching them trashing gardens that have been beautifully, lovingly produced and cared for months by people at the Chelsea Flower Show and so on. It's just vandalism. It doesn't make anybody think, God, that's great, I must support them. It thinks, I hate these people. So again, I come back to, you are a smart guy. You must know that this is not the right way to get what they want or what you want.
Well, look, I think with the Conservative government, nothing is the right way to get what we want in terms of the climate crisis that we face. This government are tone deaf completely in hock to fossil fuel interests and just the old way of doing things. It's out of sheer frustration that these people behave in this way and campaign in this way, and I understand that. I do understand also that it aggravates people. But look, Piers, in the background, there's a greater harm being done. The climate crisis itself killed 40,000 people in Europe last summer when we had those record high temperatures. This is not a one-off event. It's happening all around the world because of freak weather. There's this big thing coming called the climate crisis, driven by fossil fuels, and we absolutely can't afford to be drilling for any more.
You're a vegan, have been for a very long time, and a survey came out by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization last week, I think it was, that found that a vegan diet cannot provide some vital nutrients, to 500 scientific papers, and they concluded that basically you can't get enough nutrients from plant-based food sources, which would fly in the face of what you believe about a vegan diet. So could it be, and I put this to you respectfully, Dale, that you're just maybe wrong again?
Look, I had a quick read of that study. It was a few weeks ago. It seemed to me to be aimed at parts of the world where intensive agriculture is not possible. And they talked about marginal diets and how to prevent stunting of children. And they were arguing that actually grazing animals in those countries and eating animals was a better alternative than vegan foods. I think it was a very specific case they were looking at because the science is very clear. Take vitamin B12, for example, Piers. Animals don't make that. And 97% of all of the vitamin B12 that we make, man-made vitamin B12 in the world, is fed to animals because they live in sheds and they aren't exposed to the grass where they would normally get it from. It's a complete myth that we need animals for B12 and vegans don't get it.
Bear Grylls,
for example.
Bear Grylls has come out and renounced his vegan faith. He's gone back to a diet of red meat, blood, bone marrow, and salted butter, eggs, fruit and honey. He says, I was vegan quite a few years ago. In fact, I wrote a vegan cookbook and I feel embarrassed about it because he now realises that the future is meaty. What's your message to Bear? Is he wrong as well?
Look, it's not about right or wrong, right? If he feels better eating that stuff, then that's up to him. Veganism, plant-based living is on the rise in our country and around the world. Those people aren't wrong. That's a choice that people make. If you look at the cruelty of the animal industry, it's incredible. It's off the charts. If you look at the fact that it's the second biggest cause of the climate crisis globally, animal agriculture, that's off the charts. And then look at the impact on human health. We know that it's responsible for some of the chronic diseases, most of the chronic diseases that affect us in older life, heart problems, cancers, diabetes, all that kind of stuff. These are scientific facts as well. So it's not about right or wrong, actually.
Do you eat,
Bear can eat what he likes. That's up to him.
Right. Do you eat almonds and avocados?
Classic. I knew that was coming, right? Because that's what you say to vegans.
Yeah. Do you?
Sometimes. But listen, vegans don't live on almonds and avocados.
So you've confessed as a vegan to eating avocados and almonds. And as you know, they are made from bees in California over a 6-week period every year. And billions of bees get habitually murdered to feed your avocado and almond habit, along with other vegans. And they often get flown or trucked and then around the world. So on every single level, eating avocados and almonds is bad for the planet. How do you plead?
Look, I don't have a habit to eat either of those things. You asked me if I ate them, and I do occasionally eat them. But almonds come from other parts of the world, and so do avocados, actually, in California.
Most of them come from California.
I think you're in the business of painting pictures with extremes, Piers, and it's not helpful. Like I said before, we need a balanced argument as well as a balanced diet.
Dale, it's more actually about principle. I don't mind people who are genuinely principled, whose lifestyles genuinely conform to the way that they're preaching, right? And like I say, I agree with a lot of what you say. But when I hear vegans talking about this great contribution to the planet and so on, but they all eat avocados and almonds, and we know that billions of bees get killed to feed that, and that they get flown around the world and trucked around the world, and it's all terrible for the planet, I think I'm able to ask the question. Do you not think that's hypocritical?
Like I said, I don't have a habit as you described it. I do occasionally eat that stuff. I don't know if it comes from California or it doesn't, but the bees aren't killed, are they? I mean, they're just used. But I think you're kind of distracting from the point. If you eat meat and dairy,
hang on, everything
dies, right? Everything lives and dies. Everything lives and dies, but they aren't killed in the process like a cow. For example, if you drink milk, Piers, baby cows are killed so that you can drink cow's milk, right?
Yeah,
Did you know that?
I have no problem in animals.
Did you know that?
I've got no problem with animals. Look, I eat meat, so obviously I know animals get killed. You're a vegan, and you don't agree.
I said milk. I said if you drink milk, if you drink cow's milk, baby cows are killed for that. They're taken from their mother and killed.
You say bees don't get killed.
Did you know that?
Well, so you have a problem
with... Do you condone that?
You have a problem with animals being killed.
Do you not? Do you not think it's wrong?
I'm asking you if you have a problem with animals...
to be shot in the head at birth so that you can drink its mother's milk?
As a meat eater, I clearly don't have a problem with animals being killed. Do you, as a vegan, have a problem with animals being killed?
I said... I'm talking about milk, OK? I'm talking about drinking milk.
I'm talking about bees.
Are you OK? Are you OK with the death of a baby cow so that you can drink its mother's milk? Is that OK?
I eat veal. I know how that's made. Right? I eat meat, so I'm unashamed about that. You're a vegan, a principled vegan.
You're dodging the question.
And you don't think bees get killed.
The question, Piers.
But I would put to you that billions of bees do actually get slaughtered every year, and that's mainly to produce avocados and almonds. And almond milk, by the way.
That's a silly thing to say. That's a
silly
thing to say.
Thing to say, is it? You just think that calves are more important because they're bigger animals. I think the little guys matter too. The little bees matter. They're living things.
OK. So you're OK, though? You haven't answered the question. Are you OK with the death of a baby cow so that you can drink its mother's milk?
I'm absolutely fine with eating meat, generally, or any consumer product that comes from animals being killed to feed humans, yeah. And by the way, animals eat each other as well. So my question, though, for you, which remains unanswered, are you OK with it? Or are you wanting to take some sort of principled stance against me for what I eat, but absolve yourself of any sin yourself? Serious question.
Not at all. No, not at all. Not at all. Listen, I'm against the use of bees, and I don't eat honey and stuff like that. I rarely eat avocados and almonds. You just asked me that favourite question of anti-vegan presenters, looking for hypocrisy, right? The big H word.
Yeah.
But you still duck the direct question, shooting a baby calves in the head at birth so that you can drink their mother's milk. Is that OK, yes or no?
You answer my question, and I'll answer yours.
Yes or no?
Well,
yes or
you
no?
answer mine first.
I have. Yes or no?
It's not your interview,
but
it's mine. You haven't. Are you OK?
It's our interview, Piers.
You don't think
and I have answered your question.
You don't think billions of bees get killed. I say they get killed.
They don't.
Demonstrably, they get killed.
They don't get killed. They're used. They used to pollinate the plants over there. That's what happens. And absolutely. But they don't get killed. So now answer my question.
Well, they die, don't they?
Is it OK?
They do die.
Everything dies. Everything dies. Bees don't have a long lifespan.
So if I took a billion humans and just killed them to feed you, that would not be killing them. It would just be natural death, would it?
You still haven't answered my question.
Oh, I'll come to it if you answer mine.
I have. I have. The bees aren't killed. They're used. Everything dies. They have a short lifespan. I'm not OK with it. I'm not OK with it. And I don't eat honey, for example. Now, answer my question. Are you
Why don't you eat honey?
Shooting of a baby calf at birth so that you can drink its mother's milk? Because that's the reality of the dairy industry that's never talked about.
Why don't you eat honey?
Just won't answer the question.
Why don't you eat honey?
Because it involves the use of bees.
But you eat almonds and avocados.
Sometimes. But they don't all come from California, and they're not all grown in that hideous way.
That's the difference.
They're not all produced in the hideous way.
So you're worried about the bees if it's to make honey, but you don't care about them if it's to make avocados and almonds. You see the problem here, Dale?
And the problem is you're not answering the question.
No, I will come to your question when you finally get to the bottom of your own position.
When? Come on.
Come on, you must admit that what you're saying,
about it.
What you're saying, to a neutral observer, will sound ridiculously hypocritical.
I don't see how, because I've said I don't agree with the use of bees in agriculture. I occasionally eat almonds and avocados, not from California, and where
do they
I agree
come
with
from?
you. The bees shouldn't be used in that way. But they're not
where
murdered. You said they were slaughtered in their billions, and that isn't true.
Hey,
what
Dale,
you said,
what you said
isn't true.
Dale, where do your almonds and avocados come from?
Spain.
How do you know?
Well, how do you know anything in this world?
You don't know
Use
they
your
come
eyes,
from
read
Spain,
the
do you?
label.
You've been secretly munching
Yes,
Californian
I do.
almonds and avocados.
No.
You now feel guilty about it.
So come on, have we touched the bottom of this issue yet? Will you answer the baby cow question?
What is the specific question you want answered?
Are you okay with the murder of a baby cow at birth so that you can drink its mother's milk?
I'm okay with drinking milk, yeah.
No, that's not the answer.
Well, I'm okay with however milk gets manufactured.
The baby cow.
There are manufacturing standards in this country. I'm okay with the process. I'm okay with the standards. I'm an unashamed meat eater. I have no complexity about any of this. You're the one that has the problem with it. You don't like people like me for munching meat, but you love killing bees. That's the problem.
I don't have a problem. That's made up. Come on.
It's not made up. Anyway, on the issue,
you just made it up.
Look,
you just made it up. I don't. Who said I like killing bees? I never said that.
Well, you said they don't get killed, but they all die.
You made that up.
It's the same thing, isn't it? They literally get taken down to California and they get killed, so that you can have your avocados.
No, they have a rough life, no
almonds.
doubt about it. Not me, Piers.
What do you mean, not you? You say yours come from Spain. There's no evidence yours come from Spain.
Yes.
Is there?
But you've got evidence that mine come from California, have you?
I suspect they do, because most avocados and almonds come from California.
Oh, you suspect they do?
Yeah.
Okay, we come back to that. That's cool.
You show me a Spanish wrapper, and I'll let you off the California wrap. On the bigger issue of why you came on. On the issue,
there's a bigger one than avocados and almonds.
Well, actually,
wow.
I care about the little guys in this
knew?
debate. I care about the bees. Right? You don't. It's fine. I do.
The baby cows.
Well, you care about them if they only get killed for honey. You care about them. If they get killed for your almonds and avocados, you don't. So it's a weird concern that you have. It only goes halfway for them. You got to hope. The poor old bee has to hope that.
I didn't say that.
The poor old bee has to hope that it's only honey that it's being used for to get the Dale support, right?
No, I didn't say it, did I? You said it. You can't put words in my mouth.
I don't have to. The great thing is it's all on camera.
Yeah. So we'll look back and we'll see that I didn't say that. You just keep making it up.
I'm sure you didn't say it, in which case there's nothing to worry about.
All right, then. Let's move on to the bigger issue, whatever.
Bigger issue. My final question on that was Rowan Atkinson was interesting this week because he came out and said he feels duped by electric cars. And the bigger issue, big picture, I guess, about this whole issue of green energy is how fast we can move to a place where you would like to be, where it's all green. And I think we all like to get there, obviously, sooner rather than later. But as he says, electric cars, they're very expensive still. And the way that the battery works in electric cars with lithium is extremely bad, 70% worse than petrol cars at the start of the process with lithium batteries in terms of greenhouse emissions. What do we do about that? How do we create green cars, for example, which are affordable and aren't causing that kind of issue in terms of the environment from the start?
Well, look, I mean, that was slightly incoherent with respect. I think what Rowan might be saying is that there's a bigger carbon footprint to make an electric car than there is to make a petrol or diesel car. That's a fact. But then in the lifetime of using them, there's a much smaller carbon footprint from an electric car than a petrol or diesel car. So, I mean, that's also a fact. We already have green cars. They are electric cars, and, you know, they can be driven around with no pollution at all if you run them on green energy. Our grid is currently 50% powered by green energy, so we're a long way towards where we need to be. And, you know, there are a lot of things said about electric cars from time to time, but they're super popular. Anybody that's had one swears they'll never go back to another one. I know there are problems with somewhere to charge every now and then and that kind of stuff. But the fundamental claim that electric cars aren't green is not based on fact or science. You donated, I think, £1.5 million to Labour. But you also, in the pandemic, claimed £309,000 of taxpayer cash for furlough. Do you think that was reasonable, given how wealthy you are and given you've got all this money to give the Labour Party? I'm not sure if you understand how the furlough scheme worked, but basically it was put in place to... Yeah, well, it was put in place to protect jobs during the pandemic, to protect jobs that were no longer there because people couldn't go to work. It was to prevent mass redundancies. And the money paid to companies was paid directly to staff. So no company kept any money from the furlough scheme. We didn't keep any money from the furlough scheme. We simply used it for what it was for, which was to keep people employed while they couldn't come to work.
I get that, but the argument was that you've managed to find £1.5 million to give to Labour since 2014. Why did you need taxpayer cash to bail out your staff during the pandemic? Why couldn't you have just diverted some of the money you gave to Labour and use that?
You did say since 2014, didn't you, that 10-year period?
Yeah.
Maybe there's the answer in there for you. These things weren't perfectly aligned. We weren't sat here saying, oh, we're just going to bung this money to Labour. Oh, look, we could claim on the furlough scheme. That didn't happen like that. But nonetheless, I go back to the fundamental point, Piers. We didn't make any money from that. This was money made available to all businesses in the country. We pay tax here in this country. We were entitled to use that. Our staff were entitled for us to use that to save their jobs, OK? There's nothing wrong with what we did.
I didn't say you did anything
through
wrong.
The pandemic.
Nothing wrong.
And it's not connected. It's not connected to all the other things we spend money on, like Just Stop Oil. We give money to all kinds of good causes, and it's unconnected. It's just a silly attempt at a smear, quite frankly.
Listen, I put the question to you, you've answered it, and that's the point of an interview. I'm not making a judgment at all. Dale, good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks, Piers. See you later.